But the amount of scary films this guy has done and actually creeped me out with, I think I can say this. James Wan is becoming the new master of horror. Insidious Chapter 2. So Insidious Chapter 2 takes place right where Insidious leaves off. Now if you haven't seen Insidious Chapter 2 literally begins quite literally right when the first one ends. So there's gonna be some spoilers regarding Insidious 1 if you haven't seen it. So if you have not seen Insidious, the first one, you've been warned. Basically, the events of the first Insidious is that Josh Lambert, played by Patrick Wilson, has this ability, when he goes to sleep, travel into the spirit world called the Further and talk to the dead. Basically, in the first one, his son, Dalton, inherited his gift. He pretty much was lured much more into the Further than he should have, getting captured by a demon. So then Josh goes into the Further, is able to get him out of the Further. However, once Josh got out of the Further in the first Insidious, something else latched itself onto Josh. Insidious Chapter 2 begins as Josh and the Lamberts, his wife, Renee, played by Rose Byrne. He takes Renee and their kids to move into their mother's house. Paranormal events start to happen again, and we know that something isn't quite right with Josh. Now, if I could give a very quick review of Insidious, I gave Insidious a review on my last channel. I didn't really give it a fair review because I thought it was just a cheap jump scare fest, and I watched Insidious to get ready for Insidious 2. Now, if I could rate Insidious, I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's a great horror film. It has a fantastic start, and the last 30 minutes when Josh goes into the Further, it reminded me so much of going to Halloween Horror Nights, into one of those big production-like houses. I'm a big fan of James Wan. I've seen the first, so it's a great horror film. I really love Dead Silence. That's one of my favorite horror films of all time. I think it's a very underrated horror film. I really like Insidious. I love The Conjuring. That's one of my favorite films of the year. I really liked Insidious 2 a lot. I was really entertained by it. The thing that you notice first is the cinematography. Every one of James Wan's films looks beautiful. What he always does is that he always does these still shots, and sometimes he zooms into a very particular part of a house to show what's going on. I really like his style of cinematography. I really liked how really the story just jumps in right where the original left off. I also like how the second one ties in with the first one. The acting, of course, is all around great. Patrick Wilson gives a very good performance. His performance reminded me a lot of Jack Nicholson in The Shining, how he was starting to progress from just sane to going back to his alcoholic roots, being a killer. Rose Byrne was much better in this one. All the actors carry very strong performances. Paranormal investigators in the first ones return in this film, and of course they're goofy as can be, just like in the first film. There's one scene in particular I can think of where they're investigating in this one house where Elise from the first film used to live. They find this ghost girl. She's like, you better leave or else she'll kill you. And this look on their faces, they just pretty much like speed walk out of there. The sound design is also fantastic. And of course, is the film scary? Yes. James Wan, just like I said in my intro, is becoming a new master of horror. He knows how to scare you. There's one scene in particular near the beginning of the film. I think it's like, 20, maybe 30 minutes into the film where I swear to you, if there was a girl sitting next to me, I would have grabbed onto them. I was getting chills. I was pushing back onto my seat. My eyes were wide open. I was genuinely terrified. Just the way how it was all put together and crafted really put me in for quite a scare. There were generally a lot of scenes where I got huge goosebumps. All in all, Insidious 2 is still a scary film. However, this film, I have to say, it is not as good as the first one. The main problem I had with the film is that it really felt like, in terms of story of how it was progressing along, it felt like James Wan and the screenwriter Lee Winnell were trying to replicate how the story moves along for Insidious Chapter 2. It just kind of seemed like it replicated a lot of it. This movie is kind of more of a thrill than a scary movie, so if you're going in for a scare fest all around, you might be a little bit disappointed because this film isn't as scary. It's much more intense. Another thing I kind of like about the film was that there are a lot of those jump scares, and when I mean jump scares, I mean there is some false alarm jump scares. You know, when a certain character is just looking into the distance looking for something, then out of nowhere a character just comes in and scares the shit out of him for some reason. Why did I do that? Who knows? There are some scenes, like particularly the scene where I was truly terrified in. There was an action that happened where I thought that it kind of almost took me out of the scare entirely. There were some parts where it tries to go comical, and it does go a bit over the top, but not too much to take you out of the experience entirely. Overall, Insidious Chapter 2, it's a very good horror movie sequel, and usually horror movie sequels suck. But James Wan still manages to deliver a scary horror film. While it's not as scary as Insidious, Insidious, he still manages to make a good movie that has some very scary parts. So I'm gonna give Insidious Chapter 2 a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So comment on, let me know below of what your favorite horror movie sequel is. And I will see you guys next time.
Seriously, do it. Do it. Do it.